July 19th Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. If you would, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time At this time, we'd like to introduce the board members, starting on my left.
Rita Young.
Scott Kilgore.
Gary Willis.
Walt Recook.
Jim Hilly.
Nancy Posnarski.
This time we need approval of the June meeting minutes. We need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion for approval of the minutes for the June minutes.
We need a second. Second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. I know it passed unanimously. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-legal board composed of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determinations. With regard to decisions on primary variances, the board's basis for decision is provided by these four considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. And B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And C, relief if granted would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good in surrounding properties. And D, that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and that substantial justice is done. And as we have no signed variance ordinance, we will not read the signed variance considerations. At this time, I'd like to present V11009 to allow a fireplace to be located in the side yard. Angela, will you please present?
Thank you. Petition number V11009. The site, 701 Howellbrook Court, is a single-family residence in the White Column subdivision. The lot consists of 1.17 acres and is zoned CUP, Community Unit Plan. Since purchasing their home in August of 2010, Mr. and Mrs. Flores have put significant effort into landscaping their backyard in order to provide a safe and level place for their young children to play, as well as some space for family and entertaining. The Flores have proposed an additional patio with a 12-foot tall fireplace in the back of their house. Since the house is located on a corner lot, the front yard is on Howellbrook Court, and the frontage on Trayburn Manor View is considered the side corner. Therefore, the eastern border of the lot is the side yard. This is where the new patio and fireplace is proposed, 19 feet from the property line. Section 6477-2B2 states that outdoor fireplaces may only be located in the rear yard and may extend no more than 10 feet into the minimum rear yard. Since the Flores family proposes the fireplace in the side yard, a variance is required. Design Review Board courtesy review. The DRB offered the following comments. The location and improvements are determined by design preference of the applicant and therefore are flexible. What is the value of the side yard setback requirements if these variances are routinely approved? This is not a typical lot, therefore they have a unique hardship. There appear to be good existing screening and a suggested condition of no tree removal during construction. Additional department comments, building plan review, site plan review, arborist, and DOT all had no issues. The applicant responds to the four standards for consideration as follows. We feel that the diagonal position of our house across our 1.7-acre lot allows for very little legally defined rear yard. The proposed outdoor fireplace will be built directly behind our house, off the existing deck, and will not infringe upon our neighbor's space, as it is 19 feet off our property line. The required distance from the property line in a rear yard would be 10 feet. Due to the nature of the diagonal placement of our house, our landscape plan options would be very limited if we did not utilize our side yard. Due to the heavily wooded nature of our yard and our adjacent neighbor's yard, we feel our project would not impact our neighbor's privacy. The adjacent neighbor's side yard closest to our house serves as a utility area. Their outdoor living area, including porch, deck, and patio, are on the opposite end of their home, furthest away from our shared property line. The final product will not be visible from the street or by any other neighbor, as the fireplace will be completely obscured by the house. Our proposed outdoor fireplace poses no threat to the public safety, health, or welfare. The most it can do is make a nice s'mores, which is technically not good for you. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the conditions, staff recommends the following conditions. Approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall obtain a building permit for the construction of the patio and the fireplace. Number 2, no specimen trees shall be removed due to this construction. This concludes the staff presentation.
Any questions to staff from the board? Yes, sir.
Do we have a diagram that goes with this of actual house plan and lot that shows physically, because they're mentioning how the angle of the house on the lot, I mean, I notice on the aerial, I can kind of tell, but I'm just trying to get a little bit.
Okay.
It's in there.
Closest thing to it.
Yeah, I see that diagram, but I don't see the property, the whole property.
Yeah.
Look at page 8. That's pretty close.
That's just part of it.
That's enough for you. You don't need all that. You're not that smart.
Just get carried away.
Yeah, you got for
I
everybody?
also have kind of a
You can share, nothing else.
side yard
There's
versus
enough for everybody.
front yard.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
I guess that's a better view.
Yeah, this helps.
This is the side versus front. This is side
See
corner.
how-
Oh, behind that,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, it's 19 feet.
It really sits funny on there.
Okay, so this is where they want to put the fireplace right there.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the rear doesn't start, the rear's only 50 feet off.
I guess is this it right here?
Got it.
Oh, fireplace right here.
Any other questions
Maybe
to
right
staff
there.
from the board? At this time, we'd like the applicant to come forward and please present. And if you would, please state your name and address.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Flores, and my address is 701 Hallbrook Court in Milton. And are you just looking for a presentation of more of what we like to do? I'm not familiar with this process at all.
Yes, sir. You can say anything you'd like to say too.
Okay. We have a letter here from our next door neighbors who share the property lines supporting what we propose to do. I have a follow-up letter from the president of the White Columns Homeowners Association showing their approval and basically going on to say that, as long as it's approved by our neighbors, Jeff and Megan Wood, which the other letter is from, that they're supportive of it. They're pleased with the modifications we've made to date. They feel it's made a dramatic improvement on a previously unkept lot. And I think the fireplace and the position of the fireplace and some of the documents provided, it's directly behind our house. It is 100% behind my house. It's just not technically in my rear yard. The way the house is positioned on the lot, it's diagonal. There are other places we could do it, but we probably wouldn't because that's the most active aspect of our house, the kitchen and sleeping room and the deck that the kids come and go off of.
Yes, sir.
I just want to mention, I do live in White Columns. I do not know you, Mr. Flores. I just want to make sure I say that to the board. I don't feel there should be any problems with me voting on it because I have no dealings with you. I've never dealt with him, but I did want to point that out since I do live in the same neighborhood. I should have said that before.
You don't live on any of the adjoining?
I do not. I don't join any of the houses. I'm not even in this phase. I'm in blue collar, white columns. I'm in the cheaper section.
I'm in the
over
non-gated
there.
part. I figured
He
that's
didn't-
blue collars
I'm-
and
I'm-
gets.
He didn't buy you
I'm-
dinner, did he?
No, he did not buy me dinner.
Okay.
I'm in the Oaks, so I'm not even in this phase. But
Any other questions to the applicant from the board? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to ask that we get the copy of those letters for the file.
I don't know if I'll need.
At this time, we'd like to open up the floor for public comment, if there is any. As there is none, you have the opportunity to a rebuttal or any additional thing you would like to add, if there's anything you would like to add.
We have volumes of documentation. I think the only question would be if there are more questions from you folks or more details or drawings or what have you, it can provide anything that's needed. I don't know what further detail you might need. It's consistent with any other fireplace that you find in White Columns, and it's the sort of the last piece of a mega landscaping project. And if we are approved, we're anxious to be done.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you.
At this time, are there any additional questions to staff from the board? Being none, I would like to close the public hearing. At this time, the floor is open for a motion. Mr. Recook?
I'd like to make a motion for approval of V11-009. This is to allow a fireplace to be located in the side yard. And this will be based on a drawing provided by Georgia Landscaping of the Flores residence dated May 19th, 2011. And that's it. That's what I should say.
May 19th. Add those two conditions.
Oh, and I'm sorry.
I retract my second.
Yeah.
The applicant shall obtain a building permit for the construction of the patio and fireplace, and no specimen tree shall be removed due to construction. Excuse me.
Do we have a second now?
Second.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a quick question? Is the motion, when you said based on, to be tied specifically to the plan?
That's correct, and the reason being is it doesn't indicate what the encroachment would be, but that's what I would have said.
That was what I was understood you to be proposing. Thank you.
Any discussion? At this time, we have a motion to approve V11-009.
Are you not going to make any discussion?
Yeah, and the reason I'm making that is, again, this is a corner lot with the home that's diagonally placed, and since the home is diagonally placed, that's causing a problem in staying in the strict interpretation of the side yard setback. Therefore, the relief, if granted, would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance, and then also the granting of this would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties due to the heavily wooded area around this house. And again, the safety, public safety, health, and welfare are secure, and that this property should not damage or cause any problems with the adjoining neighbors, especially since we have a letter from the adjoining neighbor
And the homeowners association.
and the homeowners association president.
I think you said this, but I'll just add that this being a corner lot sort of fits the quintessential definition of extraordinary and exceptional due to topography, et cetera. The house was placed at an angle because of that, and and although we're seeing an encroachment, I think it was 6 feet, was it, into the side yard because of the other house being so far off the lot. It does support the spirit and intent of separation, which is what we're about here. So I would support it as well.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion to approve V11-009 to allow a fireplace to be located in the side yard on, what was that?
Conditions.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was on
On
Georgia
the
landscape.
Georgia landscaping plans dated 5/19/2011, drawn by Georgia Landscape Contracting Incorporation, with the following two conditions. The applicant shall obtain a building permit for the construction of the patio and fireplace, and that no specimen trees shall be removed due to this construction. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same side. It passed unanimously. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you very much.
May the winds blow away from your neighbors.
Yes. Thank you.
I thought you were going to ask him for some beer.
Right in their pool, because it goes in mine all the time.
It's on your address.
But moving to 6 feet from the limb is not.
It wasn't mine.
I think that was a good
They didn't show, but we were concerned
Well, I
about
have to.
smoke.
You're supposed to do this. Your
But
neighbor.
the big reason is to move it
And
closer to the road.
Now, God, it's a great, great,
Right,
great.
right.
Ordinance is so long.
Smoke's sticking to the road.
That's correct. I actually developed part of it as well. I did the golf course. And I did the colonization.
Moving it 10 feet from the ledge, can we gonna stop it?
Yeah.
Kind of called Eagle Rose.
He was just looking for a technicality to try to stop
They
it.
should change the names of the columns.
Bye.
Good luck to you.
So go for it.
I think it'd be good.
At this time, we'd like to present V11-010 to allow a pool and pool deck to encroach into the 50-foot stream buffer and the 75-foot impervious setback. Angela, will you please present?
Petition number V11-010. The site, 590 Glenhampton Drive, is a single-family residence in the White Column subdivision. The lot consists of 1.3 acres and is zoned CUP, Community Unit Plan. When the house was built, the stream buffer requirement was 35 feet from the center of the stream. Since then, the buffers have increased to a 25-foot state buffer, an additional 25-foot City of Milton buffer, and an additional 25-foot impervious setback. The applicant states that after careful consideration and consultation with multiple experts, they determined that the only location is the area of the southern side of the house. The applicants proposed a 668-square-foot pool and a 49-square-foot spa with a 876-square-foot patio. The applicant has stated that he is willing to use pervious materials for the deck. The total proposed encroachment into the 50-foot stream buffer and 75-foot impervious setback is 876 square feet. In order to mitigate the encroachment, the applicant proposes a 6 by 6 by 5 foot deep gravel absorption pit. Since the ordinance states that no construction is allowed in the buffer and that disturbance shall be kept to a minimum in the impervious setback, a variance is required for this disturbance. The Design Review Board met on yesterday and offered the following comments. Try to overcome the impact on the buffer through mitigation or creek improvement, and use pervious pavement for the pool deck. Additional department comments: building plan review, site plan review, arborist, and DOT had no issues. Standards for consideration, the buffer standards are a little different, so I'll read them. Approval of a variance, a stream buffer variance, is based on the following considerations: when a property's shape, topography, or other physical conditions existing at the time of the adoption of the ordinance prevents the land development unless a buffer variance is granted; in unusual circumstances, when strict adherence to the minimal buffer requirements in the ordinance would create an extreme hardship. The applicant responds as follows: when we first bought the property, it had a 35-foot stream buffer, and it has since increased to a 50-foot buffer and a 25-foot impervious setback. Our property is constrained from any improvement our family feels necessary for the total enjoyment of our property due to the extreme hardship of this ordinance. As property owners, we are not at fault for the new ordinance adopted by the City of Milton. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. Provide vegetation adequate to screen the pool from the road. This concludes the staff presentation.
Any questions to staff from the board? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
You all had a focus meeting, and was there any discussion of a mitigation plan? I noticed the applicant had offered
Yeah, gravel absorption
gravel
pit.
absorption
Right.
pit and the pervious materials. Was that discussed? Did staff consider that adequate? It wasn't in the recommendations. I'm just surprised because they usually are.
They they were fine with that. The applicant will have to, do formal calculations to make sure the size is appropriate. We did ask
They would in order to get a permit, or what?
once they apply for their pool permit, they'll have to show that the gravel absorption pit is adequate to handle the runoff.
But not specific to the stream. That's just a normal thing for a pool.
For the pool, yes.
So if we want specific mitigation for the stream, we need to specify that as a condition. And
Right,
you
I
all
mean,
can have
from
recommendations.
the staff's site visit, the stream bank seemed to be in pretty good shape. There's a lot of vegetation down there. You can see from the pictures. I don't think any, additional repair or anything was needed for the stream itself, so it's going to be just a matter of handling the whatever extra runoff you create from the pool. The applicant, at the time, he was proposing a concrete deck. He did say he was willing to use pervious materials. I mentioned, the option of downspouts coming off the house, but all the water from the deck will be piped to that gravel absorption pit.
Angela, could you expand just a little bit on this, provide vegetation to screen the pool area from the road? Because I drove over there, and from the road, I couldn't see anything in that backyard at all, so.
You can't see it because it kind of dips down from the road. That first picture is looking from the street. I think I took it. It's on the left side of the house. So that's the view from the street. The pool is literally on the side of the house.
Okay.
Luckily, the topography dips down, so it's kind of in a hole. But the applicant did mention that they have planned on doing extensive landscaping, and I believe the HOA was going to require that anyway.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Again, I want to mention that I do not know the Dudleys. I do live in White Columns. I'd love to have met you, but I haven't. But I am in that neighborhood. I do not own any property near them. I'm in the Oaks, which is a good mile away from here. So I just want to put that in the record that I don't live anywhere near these folks. So I just want to mention that. Secondly, I thought pools had to be behind the rear of the house. Is this allowed to go on the side of the house like this?
That's what the variance is for.
And I thought under the homeowner's covenants, it also had to be behind the house. You have to project the sides of the house, and that pool's supposed to be behind the back of the house. And I guess I'll ask them when they get up, whether the association has approved this, because I was on the board for many years. And I just want to make sure that that's something that they're aware of. Have we got any letters from adjoining property owners?
The applicant may have some. I don't believe I have one right now. No, I don't believe I have one.
Okay, thank you.
Angela, is this a stream buffer variance or a side yard encroachment variance?
Well, it's
Because Walt raises a good point. Do we need another variance if it's in the side yard?
Let me check on here.
Because according to
Let me check.
the write-up, it's a stream buffer. I don't see anything about side yard really.
It is.
there is something for the side.
You're correct.
Because if we need a side yard, we need to hear that as a separate case, or could we defer and get that added, or
See.
see what you come up with?
Part of it's in the side yard. It's not all there, but part of it is.
No, it's not in the minimum side yard, is it? Did you miss the minimum? It was over here.
Go where's the end of the house?
No, that's true. It's how it's worded.
Mhm.
It says it has to be in the rear yard
Mhm.
versus it
Mhm.
encroaches into the minimum side.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm getting us confused, you're right. So it's definitely in the side yard.
Mhm. Go ahead. Then we go. This is without that, you can't put it in. I agree with you. You know, you can't put concrete deck in, it'll run off.
I'm more worried about
So,
the city could get
It'll run right in that creek.
you have an accessory building. I'm not sure.
Okay, so swimming pools are allowed in the side and rear yards of single-family dwellings. So, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
No,
Yeah.
no, I thought I recall something we went through on another case where there was something, maybe it was an auxiliary house or something had to be behind it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? At this time, we'd like to open floor for the applicant to please come forward and present. If you would state your name and address, we'd certainly appreciate that.
My name is Rick Menser. I represent Executive Pools, the contractor for the Dudleys at 590 Glen Hampton. We applied for, before we even went into talks with the Dudleys on the pool, I met with Mr. Sanders in your department, and he said there was no problem with this side yard, and the permit would be granted and everything else. And then we got approval from the Fulton County Health Department for the septic tank, went through that, so that's all approved. We have a letter from the HOA approving everything in the stream that we're going to do to protect the neighbors from the street. And then when we applied for the permit, of course, it got kicked out just for the stream buffer that had changed in '06. We didn't know it changed either in '06. So, you know, if we applied for this in '05, we wouldn't be here, I guess. But '06, the only thing we're asking for is just to revert back to the '06 timeframe of what the house sits. If you look at the plan, the house is in the stream buffer, the way it's changed. So, I mean, all we're asking for is just for the pool to be able to sit in it also.
Dana Williams Dudley. Relative to why the house, and I know it's not an issue right now, but the reason why we had the pool situated on the side of the property was because in the direct back of our property is the septic, the full septic line, and the previous homeowners had even retrofitted it for a more substantial septic system that runs literally the whole course of the backyard, the rear. And the modification committee is aware of that, and they said that based on the fact that you cannot see the pool from the street and that we would have the adequate buffering with the landscaping, they didn't see that there would be a problem.
Any questions to the applicant from the board? Yes, sir.
Have you talked to any of your neighbors? Have you got any letters from them stating that they don't have a problem, especially the ones that are adjoining you?
We don't have any letters, but one of the members who approved the project, it lives on the street, not right next to us though. But she said, oh, she didn't believe there'd be a problem.
Have you spoken to the homeowners next door to you about this?
No. In fact, we went to, Rick mentioned that it might be a good idea to have a letter, and we went over there, and it appears that they are not home, that they're out of town. Yeah.
This only impacts one house, and and that's the house to the left. And with the screening and everything we've submitted, the legal cypresses and different things that are going to be planted there, you can't even see it now, but we're totally going to block that out. There will not be a pool seen from any house or any street or anything there, so the impact from that will be zero. I mean, it's totally screened out, and it was approved by the HOA to do that. That's what they required us to do.
Right, I don't think the city of Milton is as concerned with the screening, because this is a stream buffer issue that we're talking about here. It's the protection of the stream that we're about.
I just didn't want the neighbor to become an issue.
Sure.
It's not. They're not even going to see the pool.
Right.
I mean, from any part of their home, they won't be able to see it.
Any other questions to the applicant from the board? Yes, sir.
Just to put in the record, what kind of mitigation are you going to do for stormwater that you're recommending that you'll be building, and how will you make sure your stormwater gets to that facility?
There'll be less water with the pool there because it's going to catch 800 or 676 square feet of it.
Sure.
It'll have an overflow drain that will go to the gravel pit to
Okay.
catch any overflow. The deck will also be piped to that area into the gravel pit. So really, we're improving the water flow to the creek. They recommended yesterday, they didn't make it a thing, but they asked if it would be possible to maybe even put the gutters into it, which is not, it just means we increase the size of it a little bit and put the gutters in it. So that's not a real issue, but there's not that much runoff even now. It's not like the street comes down and drains through there or anything like that. But the pool will help it with the pit. I mean, less is going to go to the creek.
I understand. The big issue, of course, is chlorine's not real good for aquatic life.
Right.
Because what does chlorine do?
Well, it keeps us safe, but
Well,
it's going to go. It's going to go into a pit underground. It's not going to make it to the stream.
Well, and that's what we're saying. If you put it in contact, that we wanted to have some hold time before.
Right. We don't want to destroy the
Whole
environment.
job is slow
I
it down,
understand.
it's going to make it to the stream.
And that's why I'm asking the question. I just want to make sure that it's in the record that that's something you all are agreeing to, and that way if we put
Absolutely.
conditions.
We've already
that's the
agreed to
reason.
that.
Sure.
And we've agreed to the impervious part of the decking too.
Okay.
Pervious, you meant to say, right?
Pervious, I'm sorry.
Any other questions? Thank you. This time, we'd like to open up the floor for public comment, if there is any. Being none, you do all have an opportunity for rebuttal or a closing statement if you have anything else you'd like to say. Okay, any questions from the board to the staff?
How close to the stream is the pools?
Well,
There's some encroachment into the 50 feet, but I just want to know how much.
Yeah, it's a bunch.
Did you see it?
This is a 25-foot.
Is this to scale?
I'd say it's about 15 feet away from the top of the bank.
I'm sorry?
I think it's about 15 feet away from the top of the bank.
Well, the top of the bank is what you measure your stream buffer from.
Right.
So it has to be at least 25, otherwise you have to get a state buffer. So let's make sure.
Yeah, I can
Right,
see-
we
I
got,
can see the
well,
25
we got
foot
it out
line
of there,
here.
so, okay, I'm measuring off it, so
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it
This
should
is
be at
the
least
25.
So it's
25.
about 30,
Right.
30, 32.
Again, that first picture, yeah,
I
first
come up with
picture
about 30.
shows you the stream, so It is at least 25 feet away, because
Yeah,
we
there's a
actually had an
25-foot marker
alternate
here.
plan that showed it in the 25-foot buffer, and we had to move it back, so it's definitely out,
Outside of 25?
yes.
Any other questions to staff from the board? This time, we'd like to close the public hearing, and the floor is open for a motion. Mr. Kilgore,
I move to.
slowly.
It's a standard stuff. I move to approve variance V11-010 to allow a pool and deck to encroach into the 50-foot stream buffer and the 75-foot impervious setback with the following two conditions. Deck pavement shall be of pervious materials as approved by staff, and a deep gravel absorption pit 6 feet by 6 feet by 5 feet deep or greater as required by staff will be built and the placement of the pit must be approved by staff as well.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by,
Before going further, was there a specific amount of, or detail with respect to the encroachment, with respect to the motion? Either by reference to a drawing or a specific amount?
I don't think they could encroach much more into the 70, I mean, they're really almost right up to the 25 foot, and if they shifted it 2-3 feet to the right into the 25 foot, I don't see that as being germane to the argument that as long as there's mitigation that we're okay. So I think we're just saying they can get into the 75 and the 50, and that's good enough for me. If anyone on the board wants to be more specific, obviously we can make a motion to amend.
we have a motion.
Doesn't even
and-
have to be friendly.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
It also mentions by the staff to provide vegetation adequate to screen the pool area from the road.
Yeah, I left that out because this is a stream buffer variance. I feel like we're focused on the protection of the stream. And, I think they're planning to do that anyway, and I didn't see any reason to include that as a condition. But, if the board wants to include that as a condition, certainly move to amend that, and we'll see if everyone else agrees, then I'm all for it. I don't have any problem with it in particular. I just didn't see that it was germane to this particular variance request.
And I know it falls off in the road and such, but again, just to have that may be good. And then the other point I was going to just make on your gravel pit, that maybe some mention of pipes, that they were going to pipe some of the downspouts from the house to, and the deck to the downspouts. I just want to make sure that somehow.
Yeah, why don't you move to amend and just
Okay.
add that as a third condition on the pit?
That would be the
maybe.
fourth then, because he's going to put that back.
Well, yeah, if you do the screening.
That's third,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then it'd be your fourth.
I would like to amend the motion. My first amendment would be to provide vegetation adequate to screen the pool area from the road. My second one is that.
Well, that's one at a time.
Okay, that's what I said.
So there's
Oh, we
a-
have to vote one at a time?
I think we should. I guess you can throw them out there as a
Okay,
package,
that's
but if
fine.
somebody has problems with
Counselor,
one.
what do you think?
The motion can be to
Yeah, you
amend to
can-
add one or two. You can do separate motions or together, either way.
Together.
If you
Okay.
think you got it,
Okay.
voting
And
for
then
them, do it as
the
a
applicant is to pipe downspouts from the house and the pool deck to the gravel absorption pit.
Say that again.
The applicant to pipe downspouts
And,
from the house
you said and pool.
and the adjoining, and pool deck to the gravel absorption pit.
second.
Okay, we have a friendly amendment to include provide vegetation adequate to screen the pool area from the road, and the applicant must pipe downspouts and pull deck to the gravel absorption pit.
You just make that downspouts on that side of the house.
I didn't say where they're from, so I think you'd be best. Okay,
As long as you do two, you've got spouts covered.
okay?
Absorption
I was
pit.
trying to help.
Do we have a second on the friendly amendment?
Thanks, Scott.
Oh, second, okay.
And-
Discussion on the friendly amendment.
Why do we need the downspouts from the house? You want water not to come into the pool and then wash out of the pool, or?
Well, it's to protect the stream buffer, and you're
Okay.
preventing more fast-moving
Water.
water from moving into that stream.
Into the stream?
The big thing is that's where the majority of the pollutants are coming from, is from the pool. It's not from the pool deck, but it's probably more from the roof.
Right.
And we get some of that water to it, and they are encroaching in the buffer, and the buffer is the thing that's supposed to absorb it, and I doubt they piped it all the way to the creek, and normally the water flowing over the grass would help absorb it. Well, if they don't have that in this case, at least in that area, so that's why I said do that. And that's also consistent with what we've done with other properties where we've asked them either infiltration trench or some kind of absorption pit. And normally the infiltration trench runs along that whole side. So that does the same thing, but if they want to put the pit, that's an easier thing to build. So either way, that's why I'm just trying to be consistent with what we've done in the past. So it is, I'm sorry. So,
How's it nuclear?
I know. You understand, you took thermo, or you took flow.
How do you transfer?
Any other discussion on the friendly amendment? All in favor of the friendly amendment, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. The amendment passed unanimously.
Votes counted.
I agree.
Huh?
Votes counted.
No. No. When I read this, do I use the friendly amendment part of this meeting now?
I would say that.
Okay. We have a motion to approve V11-010 to allow a pool and pool deck to encroach in the 50-foot stream buffer and the 75-foot impervious setback with the following conditions and friendly amendments listed. Number 1, deck payment of pervious material approved by staff. Number 2, a deep gravel absorption pit at least 6 by 6 by 5 as approved and required by staff. Number 3, to provide vegetation adequate to screen the pool area from the road. And number 4, the applicant must pipe downspouts and pool deck to the gravel absorption pit.
I think you meant to say use pervious
I
pool deck.
didn't I?
I thought you
Came out.
I thought I did.
Did you say impervious? Impervious just rolls off.
Pervious pool deck. Anything else I goofed out? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Good luck and congratulations. Okay.
Hope you get to enjoy this summer.
Maybe, if not, next summer.
There you go.
Maybe it'll be a warm
Good luck
fall.
to you. Hope you enjoy
That's
it.
right, it may be warm this fall.
So now you have 2 birds to go to.
Yeah.
Pool, but my neighborhood's never invited me to the pool, so.
At this time, we'd like to present V11-011, and I understand it has been deferred till the August meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do we need a motion to move it?
It was administratively deferred.
Okay.
Well, it's on the agenda, though.
You should have taken it off.
Oh, okay.
All right. Any new business?
Not yet, it's still on the official agenda.
Yes.
Yes.
I would like staff to look into what the chances are of feeding the board members, seeing how different jurisdictions are doing that. I just thought,
When you're just have
as
the
well as
cash?
staff, I want to make sure that's emphasized, as well as staff,
Yeah, yeah.
Would you rather just
Throw
have the
the bone
cash
in.
like they do?
doesn't matter to me. I can't eat before I can go home anyway, but
You need
but honestly,
this back.
it's something that I think it's worth considering, that's all.
Especially if you're traveling, you
I
know.
never get home first, I've got to go somewhere to go eat.
Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn? Yes,
Motion
sir.
to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. All in favor of adjourning, raise your right hand. Passed
All in
unanimously.
favor of the dinner rate?